but I'm happy to be back with Chris Kipiniak, an amazing actor and writer, very gifted man, very special man, very talented, Chris.
Thanks, Sissy.
Thank you for coming by. I don't want to see my face in the screen, so whatever we do, guys, let's go. And Deshaun, baby, I'm listening to you again, but here we are. And not me, him, Chris Kipiniak, the red shirt. I don't know if we have, there you go. Now we're talking. I can see you loud and clear, Chris. You're looking hot, beautiful.
That's what I picked this out for.
I know,
so
I know. You stand up no matter what you do. You stand up. And before we get into our interview, I want to mention my dear friend of mine. Guys, I can't hear you, and it's a little distracting. I'm sorry. For some reason, it keeps getting, I can hear you from up above. Is that you, Credit Gloria? Guys, I can hear you. Okay, thank you.
I knew that when I heard the, that was
now
was
we
a
know
good
what we're
sign.
talking about. Mark Brokowski, a dear member from the Actors Studio, very gifted writer, very gifted actor. He got a gig in Boardwalk Empire. There you go. We have the picture there. We're looking at him. I'm very thrilled, very happy for you, Mark. Wonderful talent you are. Very gifted, wonderful writer, wonderful actor, and I'm very thrilled to see you there. So I just wanted to bring that up. I can't help it. And let's come back to us, guys. Now we're talking. Now it's all about you, Chris.
fantastic. Right. Get everything else out of the way.
Get everybody out of the way.
Your vacation, this other guy,
Vacation.
now focus.
Man,
right here.
Everything is
where it ought to be.
You, Chris, how you been, baby?
Been great.
Good to
I've
have
been
you.
great. It's
Good
fantastic to see you. Thank you for having me back.
Chris, we're going to talk about you. Obviously, we met before. It's here over there. We talked before at the theater. Macbeth on Broadway.
Yes.
Alan Cumming, the understudy. Let's talk about the experience. I went to see the play and I loved it. I told you.
Yep.
Sissy, what have you seen lately that had get your attention? And I said it loud and clear. Macbeth.
Yeah, it was a fantastic show. I was very lucky to be involved. I didn't understudy him. That's I think that would have been too much. I don't know how he did it.
Yes.
Much less how anybody else could have possibly tried to duplicate it. But there were two other actors in the show, Jenny Sterlin and Brendan Titley.
Okay.
And I understudied then and was actually lucky enough to go on a couple times.
But tell me about the experience. Tell me about the
experience was fantastic. You know, this is a production that had come over. It had been in Scotland, and then was at the Lincoln Center Festival last summer. Okay. And then moved to Broadway for a limited run this summer. And a friend of mine, Andy Goldberg, who's a director, was one of the co-directors of the show. He and John Tiffany had conceived and directed the show, working closely in collaboration with Alan, and had done this very sort of modern adaptation of Macbeth, set specifically in an insane asylum, and where Alan plays most of the parts.
Right.
And when they knew it was coming over, you know, they just asked me to audition. I was doing another show at the time. I was in Washington, D.C. At Arena Stage doing a production of Metamorphoses, which is a show about Greek mythology that I've actually done a lot. That was
I want to see you doing it, Chris.
well, I don't know if I could do it anymore. I think I might have hit my
you hit your
my limit. It might have been like 2 shows before we actually closed, but around then. And then but they contacted me in Washington, D.C. and asked if I'd be interested in auditioning for one of the roles, and actually booked the understudy gig. So I was understudying those 2 roles, and it was a fantastic experience, not only being involved, but getting a chance to sort of be there and watch.
That's what I want to hear.
And you know, he's a wonderful actor and a wonderful performer and a fascinating individual, and that's all. That was fascinating. What was also interesting was to me it's such an interesting and particular type of production, because I think there was something about the interpretation, the fact that it was mostly a one-person show with one person playing multiple roles. I thought they handled that in a way where it did not feel like a stunt. It did not feel to me like an ego thing. It seemed like the production was tilted in such a way as to really be about the, I guess, the conflicts within an individual that can sort of drive them to madness. And you know, and I think that's madness is at one of the themes in Macbeth. You know, depending on your interpretation, that's, you know, he either is crazy or just evil or whatever it is.
Both.
But that's certainly something that's in there, and I think by choosing to emphasize that, or not, by choosing to, you know, use that as the focal point, and to marry that with the almost one-person interpretation, it seemed like to me, it seemed like a fascinating fit, and it brought out these themes in the show. Like it gave me a better understanding of the play, I think, of certain of the elements. So it was fascinating to see how they did that. And then on top of that, there was plenty of blood, and it took place in an insane asylum. And so those are two of my favorite things in theater in general. So I was hooked.
What a thrill.
It was great. It was fantastic. And like I said, he was a real pleasure to work with. He was a consummate professional, kind and always on time and always giving it his all. There was never anything that felt like either phoning it in or anything like that, which is, for a show where he carries so much of it to do for that long, you know, it's quite a feat. And I have to admit, I was very impressed with that element of professionalism as much as the artistry.
Right, but the stakes were so high, Chris. The stakes were so high, and I just couldn't believe it. I was watching and said, oh my God, he gives you so much.
Yeah.
And I guess that everything is based on the kind of training you have and where you come from and the schooling and the years of work. But he was so willing to go so far.
Absolutely, yes. I think that I would even just personally, more so than training or talent or anything else.
Right.
It's, I think, somebody's willingness and desire to put themselves forward, to really try to do something ambitious, to try to do something different. I think that desire, that sheer force of will, it'll take you a long way.
Yes.
You know, I think. I like.
No, I guess he was exhausted at the end. I mean.
Oh yeah, are you kidding?
He was dead. I tell you what, in Deshaun, when we have a chance, let's show a picture if we can. If you haven't available, let's show them. I love that. You look into. You're so cute, Chris. You're so cute. There you go. There you go with all your actors there.
Yep.
The lady, she was very nice.
Yes.
A sweetheart. She's very down to earth, that woman, right?
Yes.
And the other guy, I seen him smoking a cigarette. The tall guy.
No, we all have our vices.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And what about the other picture, Deshaun? I don't know if we can see it. I don't know if it's gonna take you some time, but yeah, I want to see the picture. But whenever he's ready,
that's a good.
I come back. No, that's not it. Oh man, what the hell is going on? It's all about balance. That's okay, Deshaun. Come back to us. So basically, the experience was awesome.
The experience
you were
was fantastic.
busy.
Yes.
For how many months?
It was, I think, 3 months or so.
3 months.
We opened at the end of April and ran to the middle of July. And we started previews in the middle of April, so it was about 3 months of actual performances, and a pretty short rehearsal process, because again, this was a remount of an existing production that a lot of the people had already worked on and prepared.
Right. That's the poster right there. We got it, Deshaun. Nice, very nice. You don't have to make it bigger. I like that. The guy, the winner, best actor, best play. He was fantastic. I told you at the end, I waited for him like another fan. I waited. I said, man, whatever you did out there, it seemed to me that you went to the highest cliff, and then you jumped.
Yeah, he's fearless. Absolutely fearless.
Fearless and given and present.
Yes.
And honest.
Very much so.
And what a thrill. What a thrill. What a thrill. Let's go back to you. So what are you doing now? What are you going to be working on? You're going to be heading to Boston,
I'm going to be going to Boston in December to do Venus in Furs, which had been on Broadway last year. Now I'm going to be doing it at the Huntington. I wasn't in it on Broadway, but I'm going to be doing a production of it at the Huntington Theater in Boston. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think it's an excellent play.
And you're already working on the lines? Are you working on it?
It's a lot of lines, so yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I'm not great with lines to begin with, so.
You're not great with lines? You're great with everything. I'm not trying to pick you up. What the hell? Said Charles, said to me, Cecita, whatever you do, don't pick him up. Trying to just concentrate right on the interview.
Right. But absolutely. Well, listen, I'm trying to make it difficult for you.
Yeah. I know you. Yeah,
but so I'm going to be doing that in December, and I just finished a show called The Rufus Equation, which was in the Fringe Festival, and that was a fantastic.
How come we didn't get invited? Chris. Now you're hurting
because
my
I'm
feelings,
terrible
baby.
at well, you know what? It has.
Wow, you're hurting
It did
me.
get extended. I'm not going to be with the extension just because
Okay.
of a work conflict. But the Rufus Equation is going to be at the Players Theater on McDougal for 5 performances. The first 2 are this Sunday. So if you can make it, or if any of the audience can make it, I don't know which camera to be looking at.
That one, baby.
That
That's
one.
your camera, number 3.
The Rufus Equation, therufusequation.com. It's at the Players Theater this Sunday at 3 and 8. It's an excellent show. It's sort of
This
a charming.
Sunday? Can I go?
You should. I encourage
should.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a charming sort of romantic comedy about love among physicists.
I
It's,
like that.
it's
You're
very
a
nice.
theater man, Chris.
I do, yeah, mostly. Though we were saying before, I've the past year or so, I've been doing a little bit more sort of film and video, particularly like internet video stuff.
Yeah,
which has
loved it.
been just fun and different to
Yeah, do you like
watch
the
a news report.
transition? Do you prefer the stage? Do you prefer to get in film? You've done so much stage work that how difficult, how easy is the transition from one to another, you think?
I think it's pretty easy because a lot of this, while there are certain technical differences that one medium will ask for certain things over another. Like I've got a mic here,
Right.
but I wouldn't have one on stage.
Right.
So that asks for certain physical differences. But the fact is, as a casting director once put it, it's like truth doesn't really know anything about the medium. So if you're sort of acting truthfully and being in the proverbial moment and doing all the things that you should do
Right.
as an actor, people make more out of the differences than I think there necessarily needs to be. That the basic things about sort of truth and being in the moment, those things apply no matter what the medium is or no matter what the style is.
Well said.
And that's in some ways the most important element. I certainly, because I've done mostly stage work, it is nice to be getting a chance
are
to
you
try
kidding
something
me?
a little bit
I'm
different,
checking the
something a little
press
more.
release again, and I'm like, keep reading, and I see all these theater companies that you work on in the past, man. It doesn't end. It doesn't end.
And I hope
mean,
it never does end.
the Berkeley, the Seattle, the Kansas. You got. I mean, so much work behind you.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I love it. And actors do get a chance to, because especially with stage, oftentimes, the shows don't run for very long, so we get to put a lot under our belts, and we get to see a lot of the country, which is great. Like I do love getting a chance to see and live in different cities by getting a chance. You go to do a regional gig.
Right.
You're there for anywhere between a month and a half and 3 months in
there
a
you
city. You
go.
almost get to create a little bit of a life there, and you get to see how a city works. And since you're working in the evening, you get sort of the daytime to see sort of what that city is like in its sort of normal day-to-day workings, which
It's
I
fun.
love.
It's
a lot
fun.
of
You love what you do. I can tell.
I do very
you
much.
You really do. Extremely. When I saw you in the storm, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we met?
I think it was about probably closer to 3.
Closer to 3. I said to Charles, "Oh my God, he's so talented, such a crafted actor." It's something that you don't take for granted, Chris. Because you go, when I go to the theater, a lot of the times I'm like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. You get, I guess, more difficult to please. You get more demanding.
Yeah.
You see a lot of work, and now the internet, the Facebook, everything is like, I don't know. It's very tough to get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Like for me to really be overwhelmed when I go to the theater, I mean, you have to be very special. You have to be very good.
Sure.
Very
well,
honest.
it's also the more you see, the more sophisticated an audience member is or becomes. You kind of, I guess, you start looking for something else, for something different. I saw earlier in the summer something called a public reading of an unproduced screenplay about the death of Walt Disney, which was sort of an avant-garde play set in a boardroom, and it was as if these actors were doing a reading of this screenplay, and there was something about that convention and that device of taking the action and putting it in a very self-consciously presentational form that allowed it to go, to my mind,